Her truth is the force challenging their version of reality.
And as you mentioned, the religious... Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something pretty fundamental. That gap between the perfect face someone shows the world and, well, what's really going on behind it.
Right, that moment when the carefully built image just shatters.
Yeah.
And for this deep dive, we're looking at a source that honestly seems designed to do just that. Amy Duggar King's memoir, Holy Disruptor, A Duggar Family Reckoning.
Yeah, that title, it definitely signals intent, doesn't it? Holy Disruptor.
Yeah.
King's book, it aims to pull back the curtain on, one of the most visible conservative families in America. And our goal here isn't just like rehashing headlines. It's about finding the deeper insights. How can spiritual language, how can this veneer of perfection actually be used to mask control or secrecy, maybe even manipulation?
Exactly. We want to understand the architecture of that control she describes. We're sort of using this memoir as a case study, really, for looking at systemic control. Could be family, could be religion, could even be, a company.
Right.
And the source itself is powerful. It's structured, interestingly, as part very personal memoir, part critique of this high control religious system. And then it's also this urgent call for others to find courage.
It's definitely a heavy mix. So maybe we should start with King's own story, because her position in all this is, well, it's pretty central. She was an immediate family, right?
Yeah.
More like an extended part of it.
Yeah, the crazy cousin, as she puts it.
Right.
And what's really interesting is how that label, that position, it actually gave her a viewpoint that maybe the core family members didn't have. She was the one kind of pushing back against the pressure to just conform, struggling with the expectations, especially for women in that circle. Because she was like slightly outside the main unit. Maybe she had just enough space to actually question things.
That makes sense. That kind of insider-outsider view feels perfect for this kind of reckoning.
Yeah.
She talks about what you could maybe call a dissonance arc, this feeling of things just not adding up.
Yeah, the dissonance arc. If we define it, it's that widening gap, right, between the image they presented, the smiling, perfect family on TV, and the restrictive, kind of emotionally tough reality she felt behind the scenes.
And that gap must have just gotten wider and wider.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when the family scandals started becoming public knowledge. That dissonance, it just intensified.
It's hard to maintain that kind of contradiction.
Yeah.
But for King, it seems like the real breaking point came when she had to face private trauma, specifically abuse, within her own extended family history. Things she hadn't known the full details of before.
Exactly. Things she'd been shielded from. And then those facts kind of surfaced and became unavoidable. It sounds like it triggered this huge intellectual and spiritual rethink for her.
She had to rebuild everything.
Pretty much. Her whole understanding of faith, what family loyalty means, how power works. She had to sort of dismantle it all. The mental load of defending or just ignoring the inconsistencies, it just became too much.
And there's this one specific kind of chilling moment the source highlights. Her confrontation with her cousin, Josh Duggar, about his history.
Yes. She describes trying to get him to acknowledge it, to take some responsibility, and the response she apparently got was chilling and dismissive.
Wow.
And that moment seems pivotal. It wasn't just an abstract scandal anymore. It was this direct personal confirmation that the system itself was like fundamentally broken, that it prioritized protecting the image over protecting people or even just telling the truth.
That sounds like the moment it shifted from her own personal struggle to a critique of the whole system. And that's really where our deep dive's focus is, right? She's saying this isn't just about a few individuals doing bad things.
Exactly. It's about the machine, the environment that let those things happen even thrive.
That's the crucial part. The dual critique. Yes, she talks about individual actions, but the real focus, it seems, is on dismantling the system's architecture. The argument is that the behavior was enabled by these deep-rooted structures, not just, personal failings. Okay, so let's get specific then. What were those mechanisms of control that she says created this environment? What did she target?
Well, she points to basically three main pillars, all interconnected. First, this really rigid theology demanding absolute, unquestioning submission.
Okay.
Second, intense patriarchal control. Power was really centralized, mostly with the main male figure. And third, maybe the most powerful tool was the fear of exposure.
Ah, the fear of exposure.
Yeah.
Protecting the brand, essentially. That sounds like the engine driving it all.
Yeah.
How did she say that worked in practice?
Well, it created this kind of internal policing. The appearance of perfection was everything. So if someone stepped out of line or, starting to show a crack in the facade, the absolute priority became containment, silence.
How was that enforced?
Often through spiritual manipulation, suggesting that talking about problems was somehow disloyal to God or spiritually flawed. It created an environment where victims could be silenced pretty easily, and abusers were often protected because keeping up appearances was framed as a godly thing to do.
Wow. That sounds less like, a faith community and more like a PR crisis management team.
Right, which brings us to how she portrays the main authority figure.
Her uncle, Jim Bob Duggar.
Exactly. The structural control gets personified. Publishers Weekly, for instance, notes she depicts him as a ruthless patriarch.
Ruthless. It's a strong word.
It is. It suggests someone willing to go to pretty extreme lengths to keep that power and that perfect image intact. King basically alleges that control in the public face came before everything else, sometimes even, truth or safety.
And when you have that kind of set-up centralized power, focus on appearance, you create this inherent problem, don't you? The institution itself, the image, becomes more important than the actual people inside it.
Absolutely.
But it's all wrapped up in this rigid theology. Is King, rejecting faith altogether then?
No, and she's actually very clear about this. This is a really key point, especially for anyone navigating tricky religious environments. Her mission seems to be separating genuine spiritual faith from what she calls authoritarian religion and coercion.
Okay, so they're not the same thing in her view.
Not at all. She insists they're fundamentally different.
So what's the difference, according to her? What's the alternative she's suggesting?
Well, it seems to boil down to where the power lies. Authoritarian religion, she argues, uses fear, external rules, forced submission to human leaders.
Right.
True spiritual faith, as she's trying to redefine it, is more about personal agency, internal conviction, grace. It should be liberating, not controlling. So her goal seems to be stripping away the man-made rules that justify control and getting back to something more authentic, more freeing.
That distinction is probably really important for people who feel trapped in a system but don't necessarily want to give up their faith entirely.
Exactly. It offers a potential path forward.
Okay, let's talk about the book itself for a second. The style. Given the subject matter, I'm guessing it's not exactly a gentle read.
Oh, definitely not. Descriptions call it blunt, raw, really emotionally urgent. She uses her own vulnerability almost like a weapon, to expose hypocrisy.
So she's not trying to look perfect herself in the book.
Not at all. She puts her own mistakes, her own complicated feelings right out there, which in a way makes her critique even stronger. It's the total opposite of that polished image she was fighting against for so long.
Okay, but it is a memoir. And we always need to approach memoirs with, a bit of critical awareness. She's got this unique position, insider and outsider. What caveats should listeners maybe keep in mind?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Memoir is inherently subjective. These are her memories, her feelings, filtered through her specific experiences. It's likely not everyone involved would agree with every single detail or how she interprets it.
Sure.
But in this case, that subjectivity is almost the point, isn't it? Her raw, personal truth is presented as the direct counterstory to the family's very carefully managed public narrative of perfection. Her truth is the force challenging their version of reality.
And as you mentioned, the religious critique. Well, that's probably going to land harshly for some people, especially those maybe still in that theological world.
It likely will, yeah. But that harshness, you could argue, is the sound of someone working through a deep sense of betrayal, the feeling that something sacred was used to justify control, abuse, and silence.
It's that painful process of trying to separate the divine from the human power structures built around it.
Exactly. Painful, but necessary for her, it seems.
So this whole journey, resisting, confronting, writing the book, it leads to this transformation for her. She goes from being labeled the black sheep, the crazy cousin,
Right.
to embracing the title of the book itself.
The Holy Disruptor, yeah. And that identity, it feels like it signifies someone who just refuses to play along with the narrative anymore, someone who accepts the cost, and there's usually a cost of speaking truth.
It's like reclaiming her own agency.
Totally. A declaration that she won't be defined by that system, but instead she's going to actively take apart its false claims. It kind of suggests that disruption, even though it's messy and painful, can actually be a sacred act if it brings hidden things into the light. But just to push back slightly, is that vulnerability really disruption? Or is it maybe just, the price you have to pay these days to publish a tell-all memoir?
That's a fair question. It's probably a bit of both, right? But the disruption part comes from making it public. For systems that depend so heavily on secrecy and shame, transparency and taking back your own story is the biggest disruption possible.
Okay, yeah.
She's not just telling her story, she's kind of offering a roadmap for others who might feel stuck in similar high-control situations, sending a signal that, yes, you can reclaim your agency, even if it means, well, relationships might break down in the process.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, the listener? Holy Disruptor. It sounds like a really challenging read. Courageous, painful, not offering easy answers, but maybe a lot of clarity.
Yeah, it gives this sobering look at how power, especially when it's wrapped up in spiritual language, can be used to manipulate and silence.
And King's core message seems pretty relentless. The light has to get into the dark places. Right. And her work shows that doing that often means breaking things, relationships, old beliefs, maybe changing everything you thought was foundational. It's like a guide for choosing integrity, even when it's incredibly difficult.
So if we circle back to those mechanisms she talked about, especially that reliance on shame and secrecy to keep things hidden, it brings up a final kind of provocative thought for you to consider.
Okay.
Thinking about the dynamics King lays out, how much of the time when we see difficult systems being maintained, maybe in families, maybe at work, maybe institutions, how much of that is driven just by the fear of exposure rather than any real desire for truth? And following from that, what might it cost you personally to become a holy disruptor in your own life, to refuse to uphold a comfortable falsehood?
That is a really essential question to sit with. Thank you for joining us for this very deep dive into some challenging material.
We'll catch you next time.
Grab Holy Disruptor by Amy Duggar King, now on sale $22.95. Don't miss this chance and build good habits and achieve remarkable results. Buy now today.
Like and subscribe for more Bookhaven podcasts.